kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Hello everyone! Welcome to my channel. This is Sinag and welcome to a new reading vlog. So, last year, I've seen a lot of orc romance on the booktube and bookstagram world. And I am curious, why does a lot of people loving orc romances? So, I tried to read an orc romance from Finley Fenn before. The first book in her orc series. I forgot the title. I think it's The Lady and the Orc, but I DNF it unfortunately because I don't like the personality of the hero in there, and he's very abusive towards the heroine, and I just don't like reading about that and then for it to be a romance. The first book that I read about orc romance is kind of a negative. I don't really know much about orcs, so I don't know if the violence, the hero's treatment to the heroine is consistent or normal to all orcs. In this reading vlog, we're going to see or know more about that, about orcs, and whether I will like this subgenre in romance. I'm really excited to do this, and I actually have quite a lot of books in my TBR to read for this. I'm actually slowly, what do you call this? Compiling lists of orc romances. So, I'm going to try to read all of those, but I'm not promising anything because I'm a mood reader. So, I don't know how many books I can actually read, but we'll try. I'll try my best to read lots of it and more of it. And I just hope that the first book that I read from Finley Fenn is just is not the usual thing in orc romance. So I'm not going to say the books that I'm going to read in this reading vlog because I don't know if I'm going to read all of them, and I don't want to set too high of expectations for the viewers. So we'll just get through with it. But I guess if you have clicked this video, you have already seen the thumbnail and maybe the title, so, and also the description. So you already have an idea of what are the books that I have read for this reading vlog. But for me right now, filming this intro, I still don't have any idea of the final lineup of the book, but I'm really excited. So I'll see you later because it's getting noisy around here na. And so I finished reading Green-Eyed Monster by Elsie Winters, and I'm giving it 5 stars. This is actually my first favorite book of 2023. This is a very short story, and despite that, I feel like we have seen a lot, or at least we have known our main characters despite that short amount of time or amount of content. We have an orc and a forest fairy. So Hyrak is the name of our orc hero, and he is the way the world is set in this one is so interesting to me because they are just like what do you call this, college or university students. They act just like a usual college or university student. Like our hero, our orc hero, he is an accounting student. So in this one, he is supposed to be studying for an accounting exam, and then something happened in the school that made him have the meet cute moment with our heroine. So our heroine is a forest fairy. So she naman is a botany student, or she studies botany, and they meet because he saved her. I'm not really going to spoil it because it's very short, so, and I highly suggest you read this because this is fun and this is very fast. This book made me want to read the other books in the series. So I don't know if this book is the prequel to the series, or I don't know where it is, where it lands in the chronological order of things in this series. So but I'm still interested to read the first book. I think it is Leviathan Song, and I really didn't expect this book to be lighthearted and fluffy because based from the cover, I thought this is going to be a bit in the serious side and a bit of the orcs because okay, since this is an orc reading vlog, right? So I've tried reading an orc romance before. So the first book in the Finley series, I forgot what is it. I think it's The Lady and the Orc, but I actually DNF that in the 30% mark or 50% mark. I don't know. It's around that range. But I DNF it because I don't like how the orc treated her in that book, and that's the first book that with orc that I have read, so or I tried to read, so it's a bit disturbing for me, especially because I don't know if I've said this before, but I don't really like dark romance because of the violence and how they usually treat women in there. And in the book of Finley Fenn that I've read, in that first book, I feel like she or the heroine was being constantly disrespected, and because that's my first interaction or first time reading an orc, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm the type of reader where I like fluffy or light-hearted romance. It really needs for me to be in a specific type of mood or mindset for me to be able to finish darker romance or dark romance or darker topics in romance books. So after I DNF, I didn't pick any orc romances na, despite the orc romances having a boom back in 2022. The way the orcs portrayed in the Finley Fenn book didn't really, it scares me. It didn't makes me swoon for the romance. I'm just always scared for the heroine. So after seeing a lot of orc romance being published and then a lot of readers hyping them up, I kind of reassess and tell myself that I shouldn't judge a genre or subgenre of romance, or at least it's not a trope, but yeah, kind of a subgenre, to judge it just by the one book or the first book that I've read of it or of those genres. So it's very surprising to me because this one is not just the first orc romance that I love, but also the first favorite book of 2023. So it really says a lot. And I'm not saying that it is just because of the orc aspect or the orc in here, but also I'm going to commend the author because she was able to pack so much in just so little, because this is a short story, right? But she gave me the right amount of world building for me to want to sink my feet into her other works. So, and aside from that, the coziness that I felt reading this book was so memorable for me. I also want to take note the orc aspect in this one because, as I've mentioned, this is an orc reading vlog. So I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm always going to compare it with with the first book of Finley Fenn that I've read. And don't worry, I'm going to try to read another Finley Fenn book in this reading vlog. So because I don't want to judge her series or her writing as well, just because the first book triggered the shit out of me. So I'm going to give a fair chance to her, a second chance. So but that's going to be later na. I'm going back to this one. So our orc Hyrak, he is aware that orcs has the reputation of being possessive and aggressive when it comes to their mates. And in this one, he has this what do you call this, he is aware and he says that he don't want to be seen as that, as possessive, because there's a scene in here wherein he was jealous. So I think this one still has root to that. I didn't research as to what are the usual orc characteristics, but from what I read, the orcs are very, very aggressive nga and very possessive. So in here, I love the balance between his possessiveness and him being a gentleman, and I just love the balance between that and his self-awareness that they have that reputation and he don't want to be seen as that as well. So I'm really happy that this is the first book that I read in this reading vlog, because it gave me the motivation to continue and seek more of orc romances and be more open-minded with this subgenre of monster romance or romance in general. So I finished reading The Half-Orc's Maiden Bride by Ruby Dixon, and I gave it 5 stars. I mean, that's kind of obvious na if it is a Ruby Dixon book, but this one, we got our main characters, Agakor. He's the half-orc hero in this one. And then we have Iolanthe, which is our heroine naman, and she's a lady. So this one is an arranged marriage between the two of them because Iolanthe's father exchanged her for coins because their keep is a bit poor na. They need money in order to provide for their people. So her father's reason for that is to exchange her for coins as a bride to Agakor. She didn't know that she's going to marry a half-orc and she dreams to be a wife someday. But in this one, the reason why she's still not married is because for their culture or for their world, she's too tall and she doesn't resemble that of a dainty kind of humans or dainty women that men in their culture or in their area likes, because she takes after her father. This one is also set in Adasia, and this is actually one of the 3 cities that Mathayor from the King's Spinster Bride, he's the hero in there, and he is actually the king for 3 cities. So we have the Ishrem, Adasia, and Cyclope. We already get to see Ishrem and Cyclope in that book, and in this one we get to see Adasia naman because Adasia was not really present in that. It is mentioned, but it is not the main focus. In this one we get to see what Adasia looks like, and it seems like it's not doing really well in terms of coins or in terms of wealth, but both of the keep from the heroine's father and our hero are both set in Adasia but in different places. So I really don't know why that happened. I'm not knowledgeable when it comes to this kind of situation about kingdoms and something like that. So I'm just going on with the flow. I am just hoping that someday it will be revealed to us, or I don't know if it is already shown in the other books, because technically I read this first before the latest or most recent release, which is Wed to the Wild God, and I don't know if it is mentioned in there. But from what I can remember in the King's Spinster Bride and then the Bound to the Battle God and Sworn to the Shadow God, it is not mentioned that much because this is not the main what do you call this? This is not the main setting, or yeah, this is not the main setting for those books. So this is very sweet. At least the relationship or interaction with our main characters, they have great chemistry, and I love that both of them really cares and love for each other, and you really can see that based on their actions and how they treat each other, and it's really heartwarming to read. And we also get to see different marriage traditions. So far what we know is the Cyclope marriage tradition, which we also have seen in the King's Spinster Bride, and that's the 3 days of celebration. Like there's the revealing of the bride, the tasting of the bride, and then I forgot the 3rd day. So in this one we also get to see the orc tradition of doing their marriage traditions. This one, in terms of this reading vlog, which is about orcs, so at least I gained a new knowledge, or at least in this world the orcs here have a tradition of stealing women as their marriage tradition, and it's very intricate because in this one it's not just the act of stealing. Like they have a special club for to knock out the woman, so that anyway, I'm suggesting you read this if you want to know the intricate details of it. But it is a marriage kind of ritual or ceremony or tradition. So I don't know, it's just fascinating sometimes to to read what are these kind of traditions per cultures or clans. So yeah, in terms of the orc, because this is an orc romance, right, and this is a reading vlog about orc romance, so we get to see them what they are usually portrayed. Like they love fighting, and they are kind of, because they focus more on battles and fighting, they don't, most of the the keep where they are staying in, or yeah, the keep was kind of dirty because just like what you said, their main focus is to train or to battle or to fight. So aside from that, what else do we know? The traditions about orc marriages, and then though I love that our hero is very sweet towards us. So far, I'm really happy because we get to see sweet heroes. The first one in the first book that we read, I already forgot his name. I'm so sorry. And then this one, the heroes are very sweet, and I just enjoy reading about what do you call this, cinnamon roll heroes, where in the outside they look really scary and really, will fight everyone and anyone, but in the inside they have a very soft heart, and they just want to take care of their significant other, the heroine. So yeah, I really enjoy this book a lot. It is a 5-star read for me, and I highly recommend. Well, all of the Aspect and Arangkor books I highly recommend. And what else? And that's all, I think, for this clip or this update for the Half-Orc's Maiden Bride. And I'm going to update you once I finish something or once I finish the next book for this reading vlog. Obviously, I haven't started it. I still don't know what it is, but I have a list of books in my TBR about orcs, so I'm just going to randomize what I'm going to read next, but I'll update you once I finish that, because I feel like all of these books are very short. So I don't know, I'm just going to update you in the next clip. So this is going to be the end of this reading vlog, but before that, let's talk about the book that I've tried to read, but unfortunately I DNF it, and it is The Governess and the Orc by Finley Fenn. And I just think that Finley Fenn's writing style isn't for me. The writing style is very boring, at least for me, from my preference, and I basically DNF it at the 30-something mark, and I feel like there's no development there's a plot development, because okay, let's talk about what this book is all about first. So actually, I don't do this a lot when I DNF books, because I just don't want to talk about them, because I feel like usually I don't have a lot of things to talk about, because obviously I DNF the book, so I really don't know what's going to happen in the entirety of the book. But I think in this one I have some things to say, especially since I've included it in this, or I intend to include it in this reading vlog. And yeah, so anyway, this book is about Jeva and Hrothgar. So Jeva is actually a governess, and Hrothgar actually is a rogue kind of orc. This is a fake dating romance. Hrothgar hires Jeva to pretend to be his fake mate, so that when he goes back to the Orc Mountain, he will not be challenged or questioned by the orcs in there. Yeah, I really don't know why. I don't know a lot about Hrothgar's motivations, because he's not really well fleshed out for me, and in this book he's very passive, and even if we are in his POV or point of view, we still don't know a lot about his thoughts or anything about him. Like we are in the same position as Jeva, like we really don't know anything about him, and we get to know him through different clues or context clues, and from the information that we got from the other orcs. So it's very hard to root for him, because we don't know him, we don't have any backstory, and the backstory that he gave to us was very it doesn't really add up, at least for me. It doesn't add up, and it isn't strong enough for me to care for him. That's also kind of the same as Jeva, because Jeva's backstory is her parents died and she needs to go to the, I don't know, I don't know where she needs to go, but she needs to go there through riding a boat, I think, across the sea. Yeah, that's their term that they use, across the sea. And I feel like the main characters are not fleshed out, especially the hero Rathgar, and his attitude in here, at least from what we've seen, he's just a jerk. Like, I know that there's going to be an explanation of why he is the way he is by the end of the book, but right now at the 30 something percent mark, I want something more. I want something to latch on to, and both of our main characters are not giving that, and the plot is very boring to be honest. Like, I have read a lot of fake dating books with the same plot as this one, and this one, it's just not for me. I personally think that it is because of the writing style and the characterization, because I can finish a book and love it, despite it having a very cliched or very generic plot, as long as the writing style of the author matches with my reading taste and the characters are well fleshed out. But in this one, unfortunately, it didn't do anything for me. So that's my thoughts about this. I'm not going to read any Finley Fenn book. I'm still happy in this one because I was able to find a new author to follow and series to read. So that's the Boundland series by Elsie Winters. I love the author's writing style. It's very easy to read, but at the same time, it's not high fantasy levels. I can understand what's going on despite me not being that too familiar with a lot of different creatures. And aside from that, the characters are well fleshed out and they have depths and personality that I can envision them as real creatures or real people. And then Ruby Dixon's The Half-Orc's Maiden Bride. The world of the Aspect and Anchors series is a familiar world to me, but nonetheless, I think that both of those books, Green-Eyed Monster and The Half-Orc's Maiden Bride, I think they are very easy to read for readers like me who don't like high fantasy concepts or high fantasy books with a very hard to pronounce words. So these two books, I think, are very easy to read, and they provide the right amount of world building to characters, to plot, and yeah, so I highly recommend those two books, and I'm still happy that I was able to read them and find new books to love. So I gave both of those books 5 stars. But in terms of the overall concept, like the orc romance, I don't really think that, at least for me, I realized that the characters or the concept or the theme doesn't really matter when it comes to my reading. What I am more particular of is the writing style of the author and how they make their characters, how much depth and personality they give to their characters. So I think what I'm going to do in the future is I'm not going to focus too much on the concept or the theme like this one, like orc romance or something like that, because I feel like, at least for me personally, it is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, it still depends on the author, on how they write, how their words are perceived by the readers, specifically by me, because I'm the one reading the book that I'm featuring in this video. So yeah, so I think those categories or themes or descriptors are kind of irrelevant when I especially when it is by a new to me authors, because obviously I don't know what my thoughts are in regard to their writing style. And yeah, so maybe I'm going to do this kind of very specific kind of reading vlog reading from authors that I know I love the writing style, or I have read before, or familiar authors basically, because I think that would be a much more objective, at least for me, objective perspective for me to look at. So that's going to be the end of this reading vlog. If you have read any of the books that I have talked about in here, please comment down below what are your thoughts about them. And if you have any suggestions, video suggestions for me to do in the future, comment it down below as well. And yes, that's all for me for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video and you want to support me, and click the notification bell if you want to be the first to know when I upload a new video. So all of my socials will be linked in the description below and somewhere in the screen. And yes, so that's all for me. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.